start. Hello and welcome to this live session. Thank you for being online. I would like to start, and first of all, I'd like to thank you for your participation in this course and making this course rich with all your questions and inquiries. I'll begin by answering some of the questions that have been raised so far. One of them being on assignment 1, question 6. No, sorry, let me start with question 5. The question is, can we get partial marks if one of the answers is correct? So when you have if you tick 3 boxes and 2 of them are correct, then you will get the partial marks. But if you have answered 1 right and 1 wrong, then according to the guidelines, that is not allowed. I'm really sorry about that. The second one is assignment 1, question 6, where the accepted answer is kind of incorrect. So we will give a grace mark to everybody. We are accepting, thank you for pointing that out, and we are going to give a grace mark to all the learners who have answered, but regardless of what they have answered. Okay. This questions that have come up, one of them was, what is the difference between package design and logo design? So package is something that includes, involves a material. For example, you could have a box of your toothpaste. So it's a box which allows you to store something. Nature has also packaging. Your orange is packaged in its peel. The banana has a package of its own peel. So what packaging design does is, there are 2 people involved, the industrial designer as well as the communication designer, and together they create the package in which the product is going to be kept, and how you will recognize it, whether and logo could be one of it. So it comes on the box itself. So for example, you have a Colgate toothpaste, so you will have the box in which the toothpaste is kept, and the Colgate name on the top, which is its logo as well as its symbol. If that is not clear, I would welcome any more questions on this. The second question, which is about whether there is going to be a project on this. So the idea of this course is also that it is open to colleges, and the projects will be given by the faculty of that college. So it is the course can be run by schools and colleges as a flipped class or as a hybrid class. So that part of it is online, and the other part is, if there's a error on this, please use a keyframe. What is it? कुछ करना पड़ेगा. Hello. Excuse me. And there seems to be an error which I need to fix. एरर आ रहा है. हाँ, ये एरर आ रहा है. क्या करेंगे? लाइव है. So what is that error? I can continue. Okay. So the project can be given by a professor or a teacher, and we are not offering a project online on this course. You only, for the exam, you have multiple choice and multiple selection questions, which will then lead to a certification on NPTEL. So I await your questions. No questions are coming. Yes, 3 error.
No question.
No questions. So what do we do?
Just you can wait 5 minutes more.
Okay. Hello, Devanshi, please ask your question. Okay, the role of communication design in fashion design. Yes, it is used a lot by fashion. It is called fashion communication, and a lot of colleges also offer this program. So it is a way to get things known. So, say you're modeling something, and then you need to reach other people, or you're designing a, a what is it called, fashion show. How do you promote it? How do you talk? How do you get people to know about it? Whether it's going to be online, whether it's going to be a poster, there you will use communication design. You'll use the kind of logo you want. You can create a logo for your show, a poster for it, and so on. So yes, you would use communication design over there. It could be something that you contribute to a fashion magazine when you're talking about fashion design. Second question. Okay. I hope that has answered your question, Devanshi. Akshar Patel, please, may I have your question? We are not asking you to sketch, is it? In which exams are we talking about sketching in this extra edge in exams? Please, can you explain your question some more? I mean, the only way you can improve your sketching is by sketching. You have to sketch all the time. And of course, there are online courses, other online courses also that teach you sketching. But in my mind, the only way you can really improve it is by looking. And the one thing is, we think it is something and our eyes see something else. So listen, watch, where your eye is taking you rather than think this is how it should be. That was one thing my teacher taught me, and it really works. Yes. Brief more about communication design. Communication design is a very vast area because it involves, using different medias to communicate. So we could, let's look at the different media. There could be, there's video, there is the visual with images, with text, with sound. We are communicating. We also communicate with our bodies, but that is not what we mean when we are teaching communication design. In communication design, normally we have people look at graphic design, video and filmmaking, animation. So in a way, it is usually communication design is to address a large number of people and understanding what their needs are. For example, you need to create an awareness about something. So you have to decide whether, who is it for and how do they access your communication. So sometimes like advertisements, what they do is they put it on TV, they put it on hoardings, because they want to reach a certain, they want to reach a large number of people. But if we have to, like for example, communicate something to a certain segment of people, then we will use the kind of method of, the media. For example, we may use posters, or we may use textbooks. Say it's for children, and we will use textbooks. So it depends on who your user is or who your audience is for which you are creating this communication device. Okay, the question is, how does a play school design be different from a primary school design? So play school, again, it would be for much younger kids, where maybe they are not going to read and write, but through playing games, they're understanding, they're learning certain things by using blocks or by using different toys, or even sometimes play school teachers make them play games, or and by making things. So that would be different from a primary school, which goes from class 1 to class 4 or 5 in some states. So that would be a very different thing there, because there is a curriculum involved. Play school also has its curriculum, but it is much more open-ended, and it depends on, it's more focused on individual. This is not my, this is really not my expertise, but I'm just saying that, a play school would be different. So you design it very differently. You would have to say, what kind of children come there, what kind of, so if it's a Montessori, they have a different kind of an approach on what they want their, the children to learn. So they devise those kind of, activities. So it's more activities based, whereas I suppose the primary school has more of a curriculum. What would I love in a student's portfolio? I'm not giving answers to how to get into some design school, but I can just tell you that if for anyone applying to any design school, what is important is that in your portfolio it shows you have certain skill sets, that you have a certain passion for what you want to study, and that you have some prior, a little bit of knowledge of what design is, because if that is what you want to do, then when we like something so much, we always try to find out more about it, and we like to see what students have done on their own, with whatever innovative ways they have, not copying something, not going to some school which just tells you do this, do this, do this, not training you in that way, but on your own, what have you done. So whether you have sketches, whether you made something, of your own. You've thought of a certain problem and try to resolve it with all your limited, skills and whatever, because anyway you come to learn afterwards, but you need to have at least that passion to, problem solve, I think. It's a very good question about fashion design and psychology, because they are very related, and I wish fashion design schools were teaching that, because it is something, how we feel about ourselves and how we want to look is also, has a lot to do with the way we feel about ourselves and what we want to project. So psychology is a very interesting thing, but my guess is that this is something that is possibly something that can, be available to you as a, separate online. I really don't know. I don't know of any fashion school as yet that has this, though I think you're very right that this is something that needs to be considered. We used to, I mean, in fine arts colleges, they did teach some psychology, because that is again, how you respond to art, or how you respond to the world through your art. The psychology, understanding of how we think about things, or what makes us, what drives us, is important. But I really don't know if there are any courses of that kind. But thank you for asking that question. Hello. Work hard. Yes. Okay, what is interaction design? Well, interaction is, everything is interactive. Me talking to you, you asking me question is an interaction. Right now we're doing it through this technology. So a lot of times people think of interaction design only as something that allows you to, activate something by pressing a button. It is much, much, much more than that, because basically what it is doing is it is giving people to for one thing, like for example, this online course is an interactive approach, because we are putting something online, but then it is up to the learner, when they look at something, how they interact with it, how long they engage with something. A lot of things on your phone are interactive, that you press something, and so that is a lot in the UI UX domain. Interaction design has got more, sort of mileage, or it's become more associated with this kind of technology, mobile technology, being able to interact on the computer. Gaming is another, being able to play a game is a very interactive thing. So interaction design is now become much larger. It's also like there are examples in interaction design where as a profession, I would say, for example, you have something like tangible media, something that you touch. So touch has been used a lot in terms of to activate something, or for example that is visualizing through, one example I give you. For example, you want to show that there is, what is the level of pollution in a town. So you have a sculpture in the middle of the road, in a roundabout, say, and it has some device by which, when the pollution levels are high, all the leaves shrivel up. So there's a tree, there's like a sculpture, and then when the air is clear, then there are flowers. So that is another kind of interaction design. So it is huge, but so far it has got in, when people talk about interaction design, they tend to limit it to even storytelling is interactive, because or theater is interactive. People look at their audience, they respond to that. Storytellers respond to, or how people are responding to them, and that's how they change their story or they add things to it. So interaction is huge, but interaction design is a kind of, right now in the way it is taught in many schools, is limited to looking at how we interact with people and devices through technology. What is turn off portfolio cover? Turn off portfolio cover for redesign. I'm sorry, I don't understand that question. Turn off cover. Akshar, can you explain that a little bit more, please? What do you mean by turn off portfolio cover? Cover. Do you mean by something that is not acceptable or not appreciated? Most examiners do not look at things that way. They just see the ability of somebody to do something. I don't understand what you mean by turn off portfolio cover. You'll have to explain that a little bit more to me. Interaction is different from communication design in a way that communication design is not necessarily interactive, although interaction does communicate, you understand. So for example, I may make a film. It is something, you have to watch it, and so that is a function of, say, communication design. But it's not necessarily interactive in the sense you cannot immediately, you can write a review, you can email me, but it is not something that you get an immediate response to. The way we are talking just now, you're typing a question, I'm responding to you, that is interaction. Whereas communication, it requires a certain kind of strategy, and like, what are we trying to communicate? There is something we need to communicate that we are communicating. Here in interaction, we are trying to design an experience, and how this experience is seamless, how this experience is immediate, and there's no gap in between, that sort of thing. And there's one more question. Participating in online certification program. About summer design or research internship, we will write to you. I'm not very sure of that answer right now. What type of portfolio cover should never be used? Anything that is, that is, how shall we say, which disregards another person, or is making fun of something, or is racist, or is objectionable in that sense. But the cover, as the cover, see, whatever you put out tells us what you are, what you feel, what you value, what you think is important. So whatever is what how you want to be seen, the portfolio cover will tell us about that. So anything obnoxious, which is distasteful, can be avoided. As long as sometimes we put on some image which may not be very pretty, but it is making a point. That is a different matter. But if if it is something that is objectionable in the sense that it is taking away someone's dignity, or is misrepresenting something, then it is something that one can avoid, or should avoid, if you don't want it to be read in that way. Any more questions? They're asking. Today, in this day and age, yes, knowing Photoshop and Illustrator are very important. There are also, what you call open source software that also you can use. But because we design so much on computers, knowing these softwares is very helpful and gives you an edge over people who can't do it, who only use drawing and painting as a way of communicating, because this allows you to put many things together. So knowing Photoshop, Illustrator, even InDesign is very useful. If you have done mechanical engineering, then you could work in areas like product design and industrial design, in interaction design. Those would be the obvious streams. But if you are good, if you're good with communication and you like to draw and are good at drawing, then it doesn't stop you from getting into communication design also, or filmmaking for that matter. But it just depends on what your passion is, or what what your aptitude is for. Engineering, and I mean, we have lots of students who come from architecture into doing filmmaking and animation. So it just depends on what you feel like pursuing. Human-centered design is where you are taking into consideration the needs of human beings, in the sense that you do not design something and say, okay, let's use this for this. You come from, this is what people need, and that's what you design. These are the problems people are facing doing X, Y, or Z, and then you create something for it. The other end is you make something because you're an engineer, you're a techie, and you make something, then you are a filmmaker, and you say, now this will be useful to people. So it is more coming from keeping the human in the center, in the sense first understanding their requirements. Like if you are making a road, does that, for example, this happens all the time. People do things which thinking that is what people need. When the earthquake happened, people thought, these people need, the people in Kutch they live in round huts. They made round huts in cement. And when they went back to sea, people were using to keep their cows and buffaloes inside because it's too hot. They did not understand the environment in which people lived, what materials they used to make their houses with. So if the human was considered, the people were considered, their needs were considered, they would have made a different kind of a house for them. So that is why human-centered design is different from just making something which you think this is what people need, instead of trying to understand what is it that they need. Well, there are a lot of NGOs who would accept you. Have you tried them? Of course, the commercial people may want certain things, but if you have, even in social design, you are learning about communication design and stuff like that. They should be able to you can tell them what are the skill sets you have, and they should be able to accept you. Or you can also approach NGOs which require communications, people with communication skills, so they can devise things for the people that they're working for. Yes, I agree. Everything is human-centered, but we also design for other beings. we design for some animals, so human-centered design will be different from, say, if we are going to design something for a horse or a dog or birds. Okay, thank you very much for being online, and until next time, bye bye.